Instructional Officer, and with me today is John Murray, who is the Chairman and CEO of Advanced Path Learning. Welcome.
Hi, Tim. How are you?
I'm great, John. John, why don't you just give us a brief overview of what Advanced Path can provide to teachers and students, and then we'll see where that leads us.
Sure. We started Advanced Path 8 years ago to work with the school districts to create with and for them in-school or in-district educational options for at-risk and dropout youth. By design, we decided to go inside school systems and partner rather than operate charters. There's enough charter operators out there. We didn't need to be another one, and we didn't really understand it, to be honest. We all, in many ways, have a background either as educators inside schools, which is about half of our staff, or as business guys working in support of school services. I was the former CEO of Plato Learning, and so we decided to do the public-private partnership approach, where we come in and create the partnership with the school district, use their facilities, use their teachers, and bring in our research-based model and all of the wraparound services that we bring to set up and operate with and for them these intervention and recovery programs for high school kids who've already left school prematurely, also middle schoolers. We also run alternative schools inside some districts as well. And because we're able to leverage lots of the infrastructure and costs that are necessary to deploy and support those programs, we're able to do it in many cases, most cases I would say, more cost effectively than the districts themselves. We've seen in the last 8 years, we've served about 24,000 students across 25 or so sites in 4 states. We're now adding a 5th state this year. Most of the students we serve are 1.5 to 2 years behind academically, so I would classify them as long-term academic deficient as opposed to credit recovery, which may be 6 months or so behind. And because they're long-term academic deficient, something has happened that's caused them to drop so far behind. We even see students as juniors and seniors with less than 10% of the credits they should have in high school at that time. Kinds of things that get in their way are perhaps socio-emotional, behavior challenges, life challenges. Some of them may have babies, some of them may have to work full-time jobs to support themselves and their families. There's a lot of stuff going on, and until you can get in the middle of that, understand it, and help the students get back on track mentally and emotionally, it's hard to really provide adequate education.
And I agree with you 100%. So you guys had some ideas for how to support teachers and students with these deficiencies. So why don't you describe for me what you've done to support those students and teachers?
Well, you know, the research is not ours. We've looked at research from around the country, National Dropout Prevention Network. I was on the NDPN board for 10 years. I left it for 2 or 3 years, and I've just rejoined it. They do a lot of work around the country, consulting with districts and states, and so I get good visibility to that when I was running Plato. We looked at Johns Hopkins research, Myers-Briggs, a whole bunch of different research that's out there, and we took that and seamed it together over a couple of year period. I think one of the challenges for a lot of school districts is when they look at the research, they kind of have limited resources in terms of people, finance, and time. And so when they do look at that broad-based research, they don't have the luxury that we were afforded because of the money we had behind us and the time we had to do it, is to take that broad-based research and seam it together in a way that you can systemically apply it. And I believe when you do that, you do get superior outcomes. What typically happens with districts is because they can't do all of that, they pick the pieces that resonate best with them and their people, and they deploy pieces of it. And when you do it piecemeal, you get piecemeal results. And so, you know, one of the key things in the research is to create an environment which is different to that which the students left. Teenagers don't blame themselves typically, they blame the adults in their lives. And whether the system, the teachers, or the parents have failed them or not, that's how kids perceive it. And to bring them back, do a roundup, as you see in many big cities, where they will round up hundreds, if not thousands of kids at the start of every school year. They bring them back into the same programs, the same environments, with the same teachers doing the same stuff. It's short-lived. And so you have to create a different environment. We create an internet cafe business type environment that in many ways I'd say is probably the nicest place that most of these students spend any significant amount of time. These days, you know, the buzzword is blended learning. That's not new. It's been around a long time in different guises, but I'd say Insight Institute has given credibility to blended learning by writing their manuals and other documents on it, and creating some system for common language and common deployment models. We've been deploying that model right from the get-go. In addition to the environment, another key thing is developing an individualized learning plan for each student. It's not an IEP, although students with IEPs can be in our academies, and we accommodate them very well. We achieve good results with IEP students as well. But to develop that individualized learning plan for every student, it means that the staff can monitor the students' progress on a daily basis and can determine whether the students need individual help, small group study help, specific intervention help, or whether they can just do their couple of courses at a time as prescribed per the ILP. Another key thing is not to pick the wrong battle. Don't pick a fight with a student because they're not there 5 days a week. If they're only there 4 days a week, they may be doing more work and be more productive than students who are there 5 days a week. Also, if a student doesn't want to do algebra today, why pick the fight and make them do algebra just because you're in charge? Allow them some flexibility. One of the key things we do with these students is to impress upon them that as young adults emerging from their teen years, wanting to be in control, take responsibility for your education, and those adults around you, either the teaching staff or our support staff there, will actually help you assume that responsibility, but you own it. Don't blame anybody else when you start to fail. Key thing also is flexibility of schedule. The lockstep school system doesn't really allow students to do the things that typically draw them away from school. Most kids leave school prematurely because they need to do something else. Children, looking after ailing parents, working part-time or full-time, and increasingly we're seeing students coming in who academically are very bright. They're scoring well on the ACT, the SAT, on the STAR test or the NWE assessment we do coming in. They're actually scoring much better than the credits show. So what it tells you is they're really bored but capable. And so it's allowing them the options of different learning styles, different learning modalities. The assessment process coming in, I've seen programs out there, and I won't mention them by name, where and they offer 50%.
I just dropped it. And then I wasn't quite finished yet. This is it. Well, I've got it. I'm working on it. We got to get reconnected.
Okay. Well, just see us. When you're
Yeah,
done,
we just okay. We will.